Oh, I'm live. What's going on, Facebook and YouTube Live? Thanks for joining for another episode of On Another Line Live. We're going to talk about what I do during the off season here in Ohio. You'll be thinking, if you're in a warmer climate or a warmer environment, what the heck is an off season? Well, here in Ohio, we don't get hard water season. It's just cold. So sometimes we can get out, sometimes we can't. Sometimes, like today, it's like a balmy 27 degrees, which you'd be thinking, well, okay. So eventually you're going to get some hard water and you can actually go out and do some ice fishing. Not here in Ohio. It doesn't get quite that cold. And when it does get cold enough, it freezes things over for just enough for you to go out and die on some really thin ice. So I don't get to do any kind of ice fishing here. But we're going to talk about what I do in off season. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Mark Hickey, who has started. You guys have heard me talking about it, not last episode. Actually, it was last episode and the episode before that. Apex Fishing Apparel. You can find it at apexfishingapparel.com. But I got to show you this shirt. I got two of them, but you got to see this one. Man, I'll tell you what, Mark, I appreciate you, buddy. These things are sexier than socks on a rooster. I love this thing. Feels nice. I really love that the sleeves are long enough to cover my my wrists and things. If I wore some gloves and stuff, it's definitely keep me protected from the sun. Super nice, super lightweight. First time I had my hands on them, and I am absolutely loving these things. Many things to choose from: drinkware, hats, hooded shirts like this, a lot of different things. Go check them out. Again, apexfishingapparel.com. You will not be disappointed. He's a Zaniac, Zane Boggs. What's up, Mark? Yeah, man. Dude, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not just blowing smoke. This thing's legit. I really like it. I love the Cryptek camo. I like the white and blue. The darker one you sent me is awesome, too. Definitely going to be hitting up some of your products, especially the hooded ones. Love these things. You definitely have earned a customer, so I'll definitely be checking that out. Anyway, long story short, we're talking about things that are happening or that's going to happen in the winter for me. And the number one thing that happens in the wintertime or in the off season is taking care of my gear. And I've had a lot of people talk about my Corrado 150, or actually my Corrado K200 cleaning video on YouTube. And I actually had a guy message me the other day talking about how to take apart one of these reels to get rid or to get into the worm gear, because he's talking about that being the dirtiest. And he is 100% right. This is not a 200. This is a 150. But I'm actually going to put another video out showing how I clean these reels again. I feel like the last video was really well received, but I'm going to grab another reel that I have. Maybe I grab something like this Corrado DC, something that has the digital control in there, something that I can clean that stuff up for you and show you guys how that's done. But one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about is replacing parts in your Shimano reels. And you can do this for any reels, I'm sure of it, but I have only had the experience with Shimano reels, and I guarantee you that you can do this yourself. If you have any kind of mechanic ability at all, and you can work with some tools, some basic tools, you can clean your own gear and save yourself some money. With that being said, if you're in my area and still don't feel like actually tackling this on your own, there are several companies out there that will actually clean your reels and replace stuff that is broken within your reels. Shimano being the best one. If you want to make sure you have warranty and stuff left on your reels, you definitely need to send these things back to Shimano. They will be taking care of this and getting you back on the water as soon as possible. If you are in my area and don't feel like sending them back to Shimano, I want to think, if I'm not mistaken, that Shimano charges like 25 to 30 bucks per reel to clean them, take them apart, and inspect to see if there are any damaged parts. If there are, they will actually replace them at your cost, but they will call you first to make sure you're doing that. If you're in my area and you want to have somebody locally clean them, I recommend Dan Mullins at Ohio Rod and Reel Repair. You can find him on Facebook. Again, you can ship him his rods or his reels and stuff. He does excellent work. from what I understand, it just had a major surgery the other day. If I'm not thinking right, if I'm thinking correctly, just had a hip replacement or something. So I'm not sure what he's doing right now, how much he's going to have involved with that. But he is definitely somebody that I would definitely recommend you going to if you're in my area or shipping them to him. But with that being said, let's talk about how I learned how to clean my reels. And first and foremost, when I very first started taking these things apart, I literally would just take screw by screw apart and hold them and put them to different places and draw schematics of my own. And I realized that I'm a technology guy and the internet and Google out there is amazing. And I just did a quick Google search, and there's actually, I don't even know who owns this domain. It actually doesn't say, but there is a website out there called realschematic.com. Realschematic.com is let's just share it here. And again, I don't have anything to do with this website. I have no clue who runs it or whatever, but this is a website that I choose to use all the time, realschematic.com. You can also go out and check. I know for sure for Shimano's website, you could check and see schematics and stuff for the reels that you're looking at. But here on the Real Schematic, there's literally schematics for pretty much any brand name manufacturer. Here's the Shimano stuff that's available. Here are, there's a ton of different manufacturers that are available. We're going to focus our effort on Shimano, just for the simple fact is that's what I am most familiar with. And I am going to take this out. Check it. I'm going to show you guys what's up with the Shimano. So actually, Herb, what's up, buddy? Says that Dan had knee replacement. So that is where Dan is at. But again, if you're in the area and you want to have somebody clean your reels or replace some things, definitely check out Dan for sure. He does great work. But anyway, so we're going to go and we're going to talk about the Corrado reel lineup here, just for the simple fact is that's what the fellow was asking me from Cincinnati, how to take this thing apart, and specifically the Corrado K. So I know I'm going through this fast, but I'm going to go down here and I'm going to find the 200K, which is here. And when I open up the Shimano Corrado here, one of the things that I can see here now is this is a PDF version of the actual exploded schematic of this Corrado reel. And if I zoom in here, you can see this is a PDF. So I can actually zoom in really far. Oh, sorry, I got a little click happy there. But I can zoom in really far and look at the components of this reel. And the cool thing about this is that, again, this is an exploded view of the reel. So it shows me how things go back together. It shows me the screws that are needed. It shows me where those screws go. And if we look here at this worm gear that's actually here on the screen, it shows me that there is an E-clip, which is 686. And then there's, I would imagine this is probably a bushing or a bearing, probably more like a, probably a bushing there. And this is the worm gear. And then we have the worm gear housing. And this is a shim. And then it goes within the, you can follow these little trails here into the reel. And then it shows on the other side of that there is an E-clip and a shim on the other side of that. The greatest thing about this is that looking at these schematics is the fact that you can actually look at different schematics and see parts. So, for example, let's just say that you are going to take your reel apart and, heaven forbid, you lose a part, which I am guilty of. I actually lost some E-clips out of a Chronarch that I was cleaning for the very first time, shot an E-clip across my room that I was cleaning it in. Just so happened I have shag carpet in the room that I was actually cleaning in at the time. Could not for the life of me find that E-clip. So I was distraught and worried that I was not going to be able to find the parts or components that I needed for that. So what I did is I just started doing some research. So that's when I started finding these schematics for these reels and finding out what parts I needed, because that E-clip, I knew exactly what an E-clip was, but finding the right size and stuff, I like going to Lowe's or something, I'm not going to find the right size. This is not going to happen. So I was quickly, really relieved that you can purchase these parts even individually from Shimano. So let's talk about how you would do that. So let's just say you're taking this thing apart and you lose part 686 right here, which is this E-clip that goes on the worm gear. And again, you may be thinking to yourself, if I lose this thing, it's just over. I'm just going to have to throw this reel away, or it's junk, or I'm going to take it to somebody that knows what's going on or what have you. Or let's just say you don't lose anything. You take this thing apart and you see that maybe there's a part that's actually cracked or it's going to break over the next fishing season. So now is the time to replace the parts in your reel. So I spend the better part of the entire winter here in Ohio cleaning and checking my parts and components in my reels and my rods and things to ensure that they are at tip top shape so I can better my chances of winning tournaments and catching bigger fish the coming years. And so let's go back to the example. So I say that 686 here, this E clip that's down here, which is right here. So this 686 that you see my cursor at right here, which is the E clip. How do I know where that's at? What do I need to get? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Shimano's website. You could choose parts here, and I'm going to choose low profile. Low profile is the type of reels that we're going to be using for bass fishing. You can also get spinning parts as well. So I'm going to choose low profile. I've already on Corrado here, but I'm going to show you how I've done this. I went down and I found the Corrado. It's not the DC. I just want the Corrado K. So I'm going to choose the Corrado K, and then I'm going to find the one I want. So quick word of advice, if you don't know how Shimano actually sets up the reels as far as the terminology, anything that doesn't have any words in front of it, like Corrado 200K, this is going to be the slowest gear ratio they have. In this case, is going to be 6 gear ratio. If you have something that is HGK, which is a high gear ratio, is what I call the high gear. So that's going to be 7 ratio. And then the XGK is going to be the high gear, the extreme high gear. And then now with the Corrado 200, you have this PG, which is a power gear. And this actually comes in at 5 to 5-to-1 gear ratio for the Corrado. But for my case, I'm going to talk about the Corrado K 200, which is here. Also, if you see a Corrado's 201, the one after that denotes that that's a left-handed reel. So I'm going to choose the Corrado 200K, and we're going to dig into this. So again, this is on Shimano's website. I'm going to hover over, and sure enough, you can see there where it's a little tough for you guys to see, but you can see right there, I'm hovering over the exact same schematic or the exact same part of that schematic. So I'm looking for part 686. Well, the cool thing about this is that I can go down through here and I can literally find part 686. It's going to take me a second to find it here. Here we go, an E-lock. That's, 386 E-lock, 99 cents. I can buy 1 to 10 of these, depends on whatever I need. I can literally buy every part that's within this reel here from Shimano's website, which is amazing, man. Like even the side plate and stuff, you can get a lot of that stuff. The roller clutch inner tube, you can get bearings, you can get bearing spacers, you can get anything you want here. This is an extremely good thing to have when you're cleaning your own reels or when you're deciding to start cleaning your own reels to start with. This gives you a really good place to know that you're going to have some, some backup, if you will. If you choose to have something go wrong, you lose a part, you find a part that's broken, what have you, you can buy all this stuff on Shimano's website, which is really handy. They do charge you shipping. It is a decent amount for shipping. So my advice was if you buy like one E-lock clip, it's going to be like $5 shipping. So I would buy some other parts that you're going to replace, like bearings and things. You do have SARB bearings, which is sealed anti-rust bearings within Shimano reels, most of them. But I am now at a point where I have 5 Chronarch E series that I feel like the bearings have they've had their entire lifetime. Like I'm at the end of their lifetime on those bearings. So I am now in the process of buying those bearings. So let's just go back and look at how much those bearings would be to replace if I were going to look at the Shimano's website by doing that. So I'm going to go back to the reel schematic here. Let's make this full screen. I'm going to go to the reel schematic. This is a Chronarch, so I'm going to choose Chronarch schematic. And this is going to be the E series. So I'm going to choose the Chronarch E7 here just for the sake of that. And it took me back to the original website. So maybe the Chronarch is not good on this website. Try it one more time. Chronarch E7. There we go. Finally opened up. So now when I zoom in here, and let's just look at some of the bearings that are available here to buy. So here's a bearing right here. 194 is a bearing. That is the spool tension bearing. And then there's a ton of other bearings in here. I'm not going to bore you to death with this. Here's another one, 194. Notice that this 194 is the same as this 194, which means that this bearing is going to be the same size as the one on you. So 194, so there's two of the same bearing. So let's really quickly go back over to Shimano's website and check out Shimano's parts to see what those bearings cost individually for the 194. And again, you could just search for Shimano parts, and it's actually fishshop.shimano.com is going to be the website you're going to be looking at. I'm going to bring this up really quick and look for the E series. And the cool thing about this is, guys, is that all the reels that are available from Shimano are still here. Even like the old school like core reels and the Corrado G that everybody was really fanatical about back in the day. So you can still get parts for these things. So I'm going to choose to look at the E7 here. Again, this is Shimano's website. We're going to go in here. We're going to find where 194 is there. And we're going to scroll down. I'm just going to find it on the website. Maybe. You buy a whole spool for it for 40 bucks. If you lose that, so some of this stuff is discontinued. So here's a ball bearing, $3 a piece. Not too bad. So you're gonna have several of those things within that in that reel, at least 3 to 5, depending on what reel you're talking about. So that's one of the things I do in the off season. Another thing that I do in the off season is prepare for the upcoming year when it comes to that, to working with new media and learning new editing techniques. For example, today I realized that my intro for my show, I've been using this thing for several years. It does have my song on it, which I'm kind of biased, but I use it a lot. But I realized I haven't had a new intro to my show or to my YouTube channel for years. Just for the simple fact is I like the other one, and it actually and it worked forever. But knowing that I'm going to try to push more content out on YouTube and become, hopefully a little bit bigger content creator, I've determined that I want to use my abilities to edit video to create new content, such as a new intro. And the cool thing about this is, guys, is I'm a high school teacher. I teach video and sound technology as a class. So it allows me to use things like this to show students how to do the proper techniques of editing video. What's up, Eric? Yeah, okay. I'm sure you're talking about out there catching some amberjack, right? I hope. Dude, first off, I have to give you props. I laughed so hard at the video you made of Mark the other day. My God, I laughed, man. And the greatest thing about this is, like, we've never met personally, none of us, which is great. But I feel like that you guys are all part of my family because I see you guys on Facebook so much, which is cool. So I appreciate that. Yeah. So Adam, I agree. The Boca bearings, I love the ceramic bearings, but man, they're so loud. Um, Doesn't matter if or fish hearing them, no, but it just drives my mind. It blows my mind that it's so loud. You're right though; they absolutely smoke. Those orange seal bearings from Boca, amazing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, unless they've changed it, let's just look right now. I think they're about $30 a set for a reel. Let's just look. Boca bearings. That's BOCA. Boca bearings. If you don't know, and we are going to you can just search for like Shimano reels. I think that there are. Yeah. So it looks like about $30 to $50 a set, depending on what reel you have. So It's quite the upgrade compared to the sealed anti-rust bearings that comes in from Shimano that's made in Cambodia that I just saw on the website, which is something I didn't know. But you're right, they are amazing. So without further ado, guys, I want to show you guys a little cliplet of a new intro that I've created. It's not anything major, just something I created quickly, just showing footage from this fishing season alone. Yeah, so I'm not mad at that for a couple hours work, just digging through that. So that's a new intro that's you're gonna be seeing on some of my lives and stuff. It's too long to be on my YouTube videos because people just don't stay around for that. But something pretty cool that I'm working on. So that's something else I do in this off season. 50 to 75 foot on a cast is amazing. The only thing I've ever seen do that for my casting ability is this Corrado DC. So if you're saying that it will add that much to a regular reel, I'm definitely gonna have to try them out, at least for one. Like I said, I'm in the market to buy new bearings for my Coron arcs anyway. So now, what better time to try one out? So maybe I'll take your advice and buy some, and then that might be a great YouTube video. Maybe I buy some just regular sealed or anti-rust bearings from Shimano, put some Bocas in there, and find out the scientific fact of how far they do cast extra, and do like a science experiment, which is pretty cool. But guys, I have been trying to spread my feelers out a little bit, trying to get some new people on the show because, again, you guys get tired of me talking all the time, and no doubt. I'm not a pro. I don't consider myself a pro. I like to talk bass fishing, and that's about it. I like to fish too. I like to, try to fish or try to catch them. Just don't catch them that often. Hey, David Howard, what's up, buddy? Thanks for joining tonight. But I talked to Ronnie Moore from Bassmaster today via Facebook, and he has agreed to come on the show here in the coming weeks, potentially the 14th, which would be next Tuesday. He's supposed to let me know tomorrow. So coming up very soon, you guys are going to see Ronnie Moore from Bassmaster. We're going to talk about how, what it's like to do what I do here as far as, microscopically compared to what they do on the mainstream, is talking bass fishing. And all the time, he gets to deal with some of the coolest people on the planet when it comes to bass fishing. Not only does he get to be in and around all these pros and meet them, but he is also surrounded by some of the best, VJs, if you will. These are going to be people that are talking about bass fishing that you've ever seen. I guarantee you 99% of us all grew up listening to Tommy Sanders on Bassmaster for years and years and years. And then joined by Zona, and then you're going to have Ronnie Moore again. And then, Davey Height is one of my all-time favorite bass fishing people or personalities on the planet. And he is so knowledgeable about the sport of bass fishing, being a Bassmaster Classic winner. And the dude can flat out catch him. But those core group of people run a live production of, Bassmaster on the weekly, usually talking bass fishing all the time. So I thought it would be a really cool deal to have him on the show and get his perspective of what happens behind the scenes that we don't get to see, being, a talker of bass fishing for Bassmaster. So that's coming up very soon. He's going to be coming up, looking at, like I said, he's going to let me know tomorrow when he gets back in town, at his house, and we're going to set up a date. But he is definitely going to be on the show soon, which is going to be amazing. And I'm hoping that opens up some doors to put out some feelers to some other people that will be on the show, because I want to learn from people, and so do you guys. And the best way to learn from people is to learn from the people that know the most, and that's going to be the pros and the people that surround themselves with the pros. So again, be looking for that. Quick word of advice. Had a guy the other day message me on Facebook and talking about the new Do It mold that I just purchased, that they just come out with. Matter of fact, I don't know. I think I was the first one in my area to have one, but this is the Finesse, the Weedless Finesse head, basically a weedless Ned rig. And I had some people talking about that, wanting to know where they could get the mold. It wasn't available on Do It's website. You couldn't get it on anywhere like Barlow's Tackle. The Tackle Box didn't have them. They are now available online. They did get them back in stock. And before, when I bought mine, Victory Hooks did not have the hooks in stock because of, like anything else, the supply chain was kind of screwed up. They do have those now in stock, and you can get them pretty much from anywhere. The Tackle Box in South Point, Ohio has started pouring these. So you can get the Weedless Finesse heads like I have here in this lure lock box at the Tackle Box if you're local. But this again is the Midwest Finesse jig head. It is only set up for the Victory hooks. And just a quick word of advice, if I can get this lure lock box open. One of my biggest things is that I am an absolute I'm over the top when it comes to sharp hooks. I usually buy Mustad. It's my favorite go-to hook brand. I like Gamakatsu as well. There's several that I use. Owner is really good too. I mean, I think there's some that are created equally and some that are not, depending on what you're talking about hooks. But I was really leery about this brand of hooks, Victory, because I'd never used them before. But I am here to tell you that these things feel like they're just as sharp as any hook that I've ever had in my hand before. They do have a little bit of flex to them. And I think that just goes without saying that it's a small light wire hook, so you're going to have some flex to them. I've had Mustad hooks break on these things and stuff. It just kind of comes with the scent or with the territory. So let's get back to talking about what I do in the off season to prepare for the coming season. Right now, one of the biggest things that I'm looking at is I try to figure out what series that I'm going to fish as far as the tournament season coming up. I wish they would change some of the stuff around the BFLs, because I love to fish the BFLs. It's one of my favorite times to fish. It's a great thing. And it's one of those things where I wish they would change not only the Buckeye division, because the Buckeye division is the same old crap, man. Fish the Ohio River a bunch. Don't get me wrong. If you can catch them on the Ohio River, you can catch them anywhere. I feel like that's why there's such a bunch of hammers in this area on the Ohio River, because you have to be good to catch fish on the Ohio River. I constantly go out and get my guts kicked in on river tournaments, but sometimes I'll go out and catch fish, and catch 5 fish on a river tournament. You got a chance to win at any time. If I'm going to pay $200+ to fish a tournament, I don't want to fish the Ohio River. I get that it's close and local, but it's called the Buckeye division. It's not called the Southern Ohio division. I know they travel to, I think the thing was, I think they do like Tanner's Creek a couple times, and then they're going to up north to Mosquito Creek, which is an amazing lake too. Hey, Dad, what's going on? Yeah, I mean, somebody had to catch some fish up there. But so I wish they would change the schedule around a little bit. But right now, I spend the biggest amount of time trying to figure out what I want to fish, and it's not an easy task for me. It's not an overnight decision. It's something I have to put into perspective. I've often thought of fishing the Mountain Division with Mark Hickey and those guys down there, and I think I think if I'm going to fish a BFL, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go fish the Mountain Division, which is a lot better schedule. It's places I've never really fished. You're talking about, I mean, Cumberland is one. I like Cumberland. I've been there a few times. You're going to be looking at Cherokee. You're looking at Del Hollow, places that I feel like you can catch fish. And I want to, expand my repertoire of catching fish in other locations. So that's what I want to do. I love fishing the St. Clair Division. Kyle fished it 1 year without me before. That was when he moved to Troy for the first year. He fished the St. Clair division, and they actually had some really cool lakes. Like they fished Burt and Mullet lakes. They went to Muskegum. They fished the Detroit River. They fished St. Clair. There was a bunch of really high-powered smallmouth fisheries that they were fishing, and now they just have them strictly on St. Clair and the Detroit River, which kind of it's great. Don't get me wrong; that's two of the best fisheries I've ever been to in my life. But again, I would prefer if they were going to do that, I could travel to some of those lakes in the UP and fish up there too. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's what I'm looking at right now. Corey Weaver, what's up, buddy? Man, I saw the stuff on Facebook the other day of you taking the tumble in, or actually yesterday, I think, in some icy, frigid water. I'm super glad you're okay, man. I know you said you lost some electronics and stuff, but that is at the very least something that you can deal with. Not being able to breathe anymore would be a terrible situation, man. I'm glad that your gear kept you safe and you were able to make it back to to land or to shore very, somewhat healthy. And I know it had been cold, but again, those things do happen. That's why you have to be prepared. So what I'm looking at right now is I think that I want to fish the Toyota series. I've talked about fishing the Toyota series years. Uh, and the thing about the Toyota series is that you're putting yourself up against a lot of people that are, in my opinion, not just weekend anglers. I feel like that a BFL, you have some guys that are super hardcore, like Eric Moore and Mark Hickey and Sean Weeda, and these people that go out and absolutely and spend a ton of a ton of time fishing these tournaments to try to find fish. And then you have some people like me that just show up and fish. I think I want to enter the Toyota series because I feel like you're preparing yourself for the best of the best that's not extreme pro level. I feel like that the Toyota series is a pro level tournament. I feel like the BFLs are a pro level tournament. You are fishing against some absolute hammers no matter where you go and where you're going to fish. But the issue with the Toyota series for me is they have I think it's called the Southern Division, Central Division that fish Lake Guntersville, Del Hollow, and Lake Chickamauga, which are fairly close to me. Guntersville is about 7 hours from me. Del Hollow is about 4. Chickamauga is about 4 too. So it's Alabama, Tennessee. But the issue with this is that they start fishing in February, so it's February, March, May, which are great times to fish these locations. But me as a high school teacher, I can't get off, so that doesn't do very good for me. So now I'm looking at the Northern Division. Northern Division starts June 23rd, so I'm out of school, so I can go fish these things. June 23rd to the 25th. My issue is that if they think these are true entry-level tournaments or entry-level pro tournaments, if you will, why have the tournaments directly in the middle of the week? They have them, it's like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or depending on if you make the championship day or whatever, which is crazy. You think it would be like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm not sure why. Maybe because of the amount of traffic and boat traffic on the lakes, because these tournaments are huge, 200 plus boats. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure. But I'm looking at fishing the Northern Division, which let's just pull this up really quickly and I'll show you here. Now, the Northern Division is make it a little larger so you can see it here. June 23rd to the 25th, Potomac River, Maryland, Lake Champlain, Plattsburgh, New York, and the St. Lawrence River, which is in Messina, New York. So we're talking, this is like Northeastern Division, in my opinion. The Potomac River, I've driven there for a BFL regional one time. It's 11 and a half hours from my house to there. So I'm going to have, quite a bit of drive time there. And even going to New York, you're looking at, at least that far, if not farther. So I'm going to have a lot of drive time and stuff. But I feel like I want to, throw my hat in the ring of these huge, semi-professional anglers as a co-angler to learn, and two, hop into some of the best bass fishing tournaments on the planet. Yeah, so Corey, I get what you're saying as far as not being dumb. I understand. Like I want to fish local to me. And when I say local to me, I think that the central division works better for me because like I said, that's all within 5 hours of my house, 6 hours, seven tops. Gunnersville is the farthest one. And these are all like hammer holes, right? You can go out and catch giants in these lakes. But again, the school district gives me 3 months off in the summer. They frown upon me trying to take time off during the school year, which I get. Like I'm not saying it's their fault. I'm not saying it's MLF's fault. I'm just saying that it just doesn't work for me, and I wish it did. Because I would have to take no pay days for the school, which if you're talking about fishing these tournaments, that's 3 weeks of no pay because I'd have to take off Monday to drive, fish Tuesday, Wednesday, hopefully Thursday. And by the time you got done fishing, you're not going to want to drive all the way home. So it just kind of sucks the way it works out, but it is what it is. Sometimes, it just kind of got to grin and bear it. And I feel like that I'm not getting that old. I'm 37 years old, but I feel like that now is the time for me to do these things while I'm one, young enough to do them. Two, I am okay financially to go. And it's one of those things where I don't feel like that I'll ever make it as a pro fisherman. Like I don't feel like I'm that good. However, I do feel like that I may have an opportunity to eventually in the long game create a YouTube channel that has a group of people that support me, which I do right now. I have 30 almost over 3,100 subscribers, which is far exceeds my expectations. But as I start building more content and better content over the years, I feel like that is something that I can potentially financially, maybe not retire from, but I can have something to fund my fishing trips. So right now that does that a little bit. It pays for about one fishing trip a year, which is going to be my Lake Fork trip here in a couple months. But I want, that's the long game. That's what I'm playing for. The short game is to learn as much as I can and fish some of these great fisheries while I have the opportunity. Hey Randy, thanks for joining. Yes, you do, man. You have to have a fishing license in every place that the so let me rephrase this. For example, let's talk about like a tournament that I fished or a place that I fished. I didn't fish a tournament there. Let's look at down in South Carolina where they're having a classic this year. Um, Second. That is at Lake Hartwell. And so Lake Hartwell, I think, is in South Carolina and Georgia. And some of them have a reciprocity agreement, which means if you have one state's license, it's okay to fish in the other state water, similar to here on the Ohio River. It's bordered by a lot of different states. You have Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia in my area. So if you have an Ohio license, you can fish the Ohio River, pretty much the entirety of that river with no repercussions. However, there are some places where there's specific licenses that are needed to fish specific places. Case in point, Lake St. Clair. So I've talked to my co-angler or my boater actually on a BFL there. Let's see, it was 2 years ago, and there's you need a Michigan fishing license to fish the United States side. You need a Canadian fishing license to fish the Canadian side of Lake St. Clair. And then there is an Indian reservation that is up like north of the lake. And you have to have an actual Indian, you have to have a fishing license from that Indian reservation to fish in and around that island, which is, it's weird to think about. But I talked to my co-angler or my boater as a co-angler, and I was like, "Hey, are we going to be fishing around these islands?" And he told me no. So I didn't buy one of these licenses, and it come back to bite me in the rear end. Not totally, really, but the very first time, very place we pulled up to was this Indian reservation island, and I'd never been there, so I didn't know what it would look like. But we were fishing there for about 10 minutes, and I just had an inkling. I said, "Man, are we at Wapo Island?" That's what it's called, Wapo Island, which is it's like I said, an Indian tribe, Indian reservation, And he's like, "Oh yeah, man, why?" I was like, "I don't have a WAPO license." So, word on the street is that they will fine you like crazy if you don't have those licenses, which I do. I try to follow the rules as much as possible. I buy fishing licenses in like 8 to 10 different states a year. It seems like I have Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana. Sometimes I fish, Michigan, Canadian license. A lot of them I have, but I didn't have WAPO fishing license. So I was like, "Hey man, look, I know it's not your fault. I asked you if we were fishing here." He said that we weren't. And he's like, "Man, we're only going to be here for about 10 minutes. Don't worry about it." I said, "Man, I'm just going to have a seat here." I said, "When you get done fishing," he's like, "No, man." He's like, "I've been fishing here for 25 years of my life. I grew up here. I've never once been checked." So I didn't fish. I sit there on the back of the boat for about 10 minutes while he fished around Wapo Island, or on a bank of Wapo Island. And then we left. But back to your question is, if you fish tournaments in different states, you have to have the license that's required for that tournament. Again, they'll tell you in the tournament regulations what licenses you need to have. But another thing is that don't take, for instance, into consideration that, one, your boater knows where they're at, because they're, a lot of times, they may be new to the water too. Take, for example, I think it was Jordan Lee a few years ago got disqualified from a I think it was a BASS tournament because he was over out of bounds line. And this guy has some of the best electronics on the planet. He just thought he was at a different location than he was. Turns out he wasn't, and got DQ'd. So it happens to the best of us. But to answer your question, yes, you have to have a license. Be sure that you're reading up on the stuff. Again, like I said, just for case in point, Lake Erie, even you have to have it's going to have an Ohio license. You could have a Pennsylvania license because it does go up into PA. As soon as you cross over into the Canadian water, you're going to have Canadian license there too. No problem, man. I hope that helped you out. So that's another thing that I'm looking at right now, is trying to figure out what I want to fish. I'm looking at taking the plunge for the the Tack Warehouse circuit, which is the MLF Toyota Series. And I don't know. We'll just have to see what's going to happen there. And hopefully, wish me luck and pray for the best. But the thing about fishing and creating content like I am, and that's another thing I'm really intrigued to talk to Ronnie Moore here in the coming weeks about, is how do they constantly come up with content that people want to talk about or want to hear them talk about? First off, I know one of the answers he's going to say is probably he gets to work with some of the most awesome people in the business. Again, Tommy Sanders has been there for absolutely as long as I can remember. I remember as a kid waking up on Saturday morning really early and checking out Tommy Sanders talking about the Bassmaster and all that stuff, which is, it's a childhood memory of mine. But like, for example, right now, if I don't have people on my show constantly, I'm constantly digging for things to talk about on my show. And I know you guys get tired of me rambling on about the same stuff, and I'm trying to keep it, relevant and fun and good information too. So hopefully that comes about here very soon. And I'm going to talk to him and try to get some other people. Like, I'd love to have G-Man on my show. Dude's hilarious. Scott Canterbury, I met him at the Bassmaster Classic a few years ago. I'm going to try to get him on the show here soon. So if you guys know anybody that you'd like to see locally, guys, I'm not talking about huge. If you want to talk to, you want me to interview or talk to somebody local about fishing, or you yourself would want to be on my show, absolutely shoot me a message. I would love to have you talk a little fishing. We tried to have 5 or 6 people on at one time. It just doesn't work out with the software that I'm using. It kind of clashes, and the stream drops and people's audio. We can have 2 or 3 for sure, no doubt. So back to the task of what I do in the wintertime. I'm not going to be on here much longer, guys. We've been on here about 45 minutes, and I feel like we're droning on. But one of the things I do is I also am going to check over my safety equipment over the winter. I'm going to check my PFDs, check my flotation devices, check to make sure that on a warm day, I might pull my boat out and take the wheels off from it and check the actual oil in my oil bath hubs. This winter here, I'm planning on changing the spark plugs in my boat. I have never changed them. I've owned the boat 6 years, and 6 years. This will be 5 years coming up soon. But I've not changed them once. I need to do some, preventative maintenance on those things. It gives me an opportunity to do that. A couple winters ago, I had my brake actuator on my boat go bad. I spent that time fixing that. It's just stuff that I have to do over the winter, so it doesn't cause me downtime fishing in the winter or in the summer months. Because here in Ohio, we only have about 4 or 5 months, maybe. Well, I mean, really good months to fish. You're looking at about 5 or 6 months. And so I don't want to waste any of that time by having downtime. And speaking of downtime, I know you guys are all just absolutely on your toes wondering about my eco diesel. It seems like the curse of the eco diesel doesn't go too far without rearing its ugly head. My eco diesel is at a shop locally to me to have a glow plug removed and reinstalled because it was having an issue with the glow plug. Turns out the glow plugs on an eco diesel are pretty much like pulling a shark's tooth or an alligator's tooth while they're still alive, pretty much playing with fire. And the shop, who I trust, and I've had a lot of people recommend them, so it wasn't shoddy work by any means. The glow plug on my truck actually twisted off. So now I am at a place where I have a glow plug that's stuck in the head of my eco diesel, and they ordered a special tool to extract this thing because the eco diesel, the glow plugs fail so often, and you cannot hardly get them out. So that's where my eco diesel saga is at. I think it's about time for me to part ways with the old Dodge Ram. It's just so much frustration over the past 4 hours of knowing that my truck was down again. I've had a migraine. It's just not, I'm losing years of my life worrying about this piece of, excuse my French, piece of shit truck. It's nothing but hassle. And it is the worst purchase I've ever made in my entire life. If I can steer you guys in one good direction your entire life, never, ever, ever purchase a Dodge Eco Diesel, and I guarantee you'll have better luck than I did. It has absolutely been a nightmare. It's crazy to think about all the crap that's went wrong with this truck. Right now, it's about $23,000 in parts and labor that I have not had to pay for. Fiat Chrysler's picked up the bill all except for this. So I'm hoping you guys throw some good vibes my way and we can get that thing extracted and put the new one back in with a little bit of luck and ingenuity. We can make this thing happen because to replace the head on an eco diesel is about $4,000, and I'm not looking forward to that. So yeah, Adam, have you ever in the past done a full rundown video on preseason boat, trailer prep, wheels, tires, bearings, lights, bunk boards, boat batteries, trolling motors, screws, etc.? See a lot of guys having equipment failures during tournaments. Make me wonder how they got in that position. I have not, man. That's a great idea. I will be the first to tell you that this year I've neglected my boat. I have not done what I normally do. Usually it's the most spick and span boat you've ever seen. I clean the carpet in the boat pretty much every time it's out. I do wipe it down after fishing every time, but there's been times where I fished in rain and things. But I think that you are on to something because my boat is an older boat. It's not super old. I mean, we're talking it's a 2006. So we're talking 15 years old, which, it doesn't seem that old, but you think about boats, 15 years old is a fairly decent long life for a boat. And I've, knock on wood, not had a ton of trouble out of my boat. But you're right as far as keeping maintenance and things, and that's a very good topic for a video. So thank you for that. I think it's imperative, especially this time of year when it's, even if you're not fishing, you can't be fishing that much. I guess you could if you're in Florida or somewhere, but if you're in our area in the upper Midwest here, or the the northeast of the United States, you're not gonna be fishing a ton. I saw my buddy Ben Nowak, who is on YouTube, so Smallmouth Experience, posted a picture today on Instagram. It says that their season was officially over, and he was breaking ice with his skeeter, and had a big trail of open water behind him where he'd been breaking ice to get into the boat ramp with about an inch of snow on his deck. So now's the time. I appreciate that thought. That's a great idea. Something I can get out, look at. A lot of things you're going to be talking about that, again, the hubs are imperative. One thing that I noticed that, from looking at different things on Facebook and stuff, different user groups, Hubs are something that you need to have an extra of, and Eric Moore actually had something happen to him the other day. He has a new Phoenix, and he actually had a lobe of his prop just go ejecto, cuz. Yeah, so Herb, I think you're onto something, man. First off, I think David Howard and a few somebody else he was with the other day. David, if you're on, I saw this picture you guys caught on the river last week when it was warm. You guys freaking hammered them for the river, and that was legit fish, man. Like I was really shocked that they were biting like that, especially when the water's got to be decently cold, especially as fast as the river's moving. But I like fishing the Ohio River. I, First off, I'm a glutton for punishment. I like fishing the Ohio River. One of the reasons is that, well, I mentioned earlier that I don't like to fish tournaments. If I'm going to spend $200 on a tournament, I want to fish somewhere where I have potentially catch some fish. But I like fishing the Ohio because one, it's 5 minutes from my house. I can hook my boat up and be there in less than 10 minutes, fuel up, and go catch some fish. And then if I don't catch anything, it's no big deal. I didn't waste a ton of fuel or a ton of time. But I like catching. I feel like that the Ohio River is actually getting a little better. 7, 8 years ago, it was on fire, man. I caught several 5 pounders out of the river. And I don't know what happened to those fish, but they're just not there anymore. I saw some 5 pounders people are catching, but sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. 48.8 2 days ago. That's not bad though. I figured it'd be colder than that. But back to your comment about the boat and stuff. There's a lot of things that people take for granted. Is one, the hub. You should definitely have an extra hub with you. You got to think they're fairly expensive, right? I mean, you're probably gonna have $100 on a new hub for your boat trailer, but having one is it's going to save you a ton of time and frustration in the long run if you have that and tools to change it on the road. That's one of the main reasons that I run a dual axle trailer is that if I don't have the hub and I don't have the stuff to fix a bad hub, you can, with a little ingenuity, take a ratchet strap and ratchet strap the hub up, take the bad tire off the hub, ratchet strap that thing up to the trailer and limp home on that. So that gives you the option to do that. But wiring is something that you dig through, especially on an older boat like mine. I've not really dug through it and looked at the wiring and stuff that because people are always going to do what they're going to want to do with their boats, like adding new graphs and taking away those graphs. And if you buy a used boat, there's going to be a graph that was on there that was bad. You're going to get one that somebody bought a really nice like Humminbird, Solix or something, and they don't want to sell that with the boat, so they're taking that off, and all that wiring is there, and a lot of that stuff could cause shorts and stuff. So you're right; it's a very good way to check that out. Awesome. Hey, Kevin. What's up, buddy? Nice, man. Beach Fort. I'm telling you, I'm gonna have to get out there with you guys and go fishing. Because I've never been there and you guys know it way better than I do. So we'll get out there and do some fishing one time. I'm glad they got out on the water and got to catch something. So, guys, right now we're at that 1 hour mark. I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. I appreciate you guys sticking around for this episode of On Another Line Live. If you guys want to suggest a topic, as Adam did there for a YouTube video, I would appreciate any kind of comments and suggestions that you could give me. Feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook. You can add me personally. Again, I have about 3,300 people on my Facebook personally. You can also like my YouTube and Facebook pages or subscribe to YouTube, like my page on Facebook, and shoot me a message there or a DM there. And I try to answer all questions that are, either DM to me or commented on YouTube. I did have something different happen to me that I've never had happen before. I had somebody comment in Russian the other day. So I had to go to find a Russian to English translation website, copy that in there, and hope that I didn't sound like a fool trying to, I have zero knowledge of Russian. So trying to, make me sound fairly, intelligent without being fairly intelligent. It's tough to do. But guys, I appreciate you sticking around with this episode of On Another Line Live. If you guys are looking for a place to go out and catch some of the hottest deals right now in the area, definitely go out and check out the Tackle Box in South Point, Ohio. If you are digging this shirt that you saw me wearing a second ago, I'll show you again. ApexFishingApparel.com. Mark Hickey would appreciate if you would throw some love his way. Again, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not beating around the bush here and telling you that this thing isn't legit. It's really thick, really nice material. And last but not least, jbsfishsauce.com, somebody that brings the sauce to the channel. And grab this. I have my own signature blend here on Another Line, JB's Fish Sauce Pinch of Garlic. This is something that I had a brainchild thought about 3 or 4 years ago. Corey Weaver and the folks at JB's Fish Sauce made that dream become a reality. If you go over to jbsfishsauce.com, pick up some of that pinch of garlic. This is the jelly. It's not a solid. It's kind of like it's a little thicker than chapstick, kind of like chapstick-ish. They do have the 4-ounce sprays, which are my favorite. This is amazing too. The jelly, they have a lot of different scents. But if you want to save yourself some dough over there for the holiday season, OALL20. So that's on Another Line Live 20 will save you 20% off of jbsfishsauce.com. Looking forward to the 2022 fishing season, guys. Again, we got Ronnie Moore coming on here very soon. Hopefully that opens the doors to more people coming on. And again, I'm going to try to get a few people that I've had on in the past on. Matt Robertson, who I'm stoked to talk to again. Dude's awesome. I don't know if you guys saw his Christmas video the other day. I laughed. If you guys didn't see it, go over and check out Matt Robertson on him fishing, and check out his latest Facebook or Instagram post. I guess they put tannerite in a deer decoy and shot it. That's the only thing I can figure they did. But he shot the deer, and you can just tell that he didn't know that it was going to be that big of an explosion, because he looks back at the camera like shook, and as he should be, because it absolutely destroyed the deer, and it looked like it was only about 50 feet from him. But those people are coming on. Definitely see that stuff, and we will see you guys next time. If you can, get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on Another Line. I'm going to show you guys my new intro one more time just because I like it that much. So let's try it again.